When Shaquille O'Neal arrived at the entrance of the Meridian Convention Center in Indianapolis on the evening of October the 3rd, the gala was already 40 minutes underway, and the lobby was doing what lobbies do when money and goodwill have been arranged into the same room. Glowing. Women in floor-length gowns moved through the light. Men in tuxedos held glasses they were not drinking from. A string quartet somewhere inside the main hall was playing something that cost more per hour than most of the people the evening was ostensibly for would earn in a week. He was late because he had stopped. He had been 20 minutes out in the back of a car driven by a man named Curtis, who had been driving him for 11 years. When they passed a boy sitting alone on a bus stop bench on the corner of Michigan and Meridian. The boy was maybe 12 years old. He was wearing a hoodie 2 sizes too large and holding a spiral notebook against his chest with both arms. And he was sitting very still in the particular way that children sit still when they are trying not to be noticed. Shaq had told Curtis to pull over. He had rolled down the window and he had spoken to the boy for 9 minutes. He had given him a card with a number on it. He had made sure the boy had somewhere to be before the car moved again. He did not know the boy's name. He had asked, and the boy had said Marcus, and Shaq had said that was a good name, and the boy had almost smiled. He arrived at the Meridian Convention Center 40 minutes late, in a black tuxedo with no bow tie, the collar open, one button undone at the throat. He walked alone from the car to the entrance. No security detail, no assistant, no one to announce him or clear a path. The evening was called the Shaquille O'Neal Foundation Annual Gala. His name was on the invitations, on the banner above the entrance, on the program inside, on the bronze plaque beside the door that listed the foundation's founding donor. He walked up to the entrance and he was stopped. The security guard stepped into his path before he reached the door, not aggressively, not with raised hands, but with the flat authority of someone performing a function without fully engaging the thinking that should accompany it. He was young, maybe 23, with the build of someone who had recently started taking the gym seriously, and the expression of someone who had been told that expression meant professionalism. His name tag read T. Briggs. He held up one hand. "Sir, I need to see your invitation." Shaq looked at him. "Invitation only tonight, sir. I can't let you through without credentials." Shaq said nothing. He looked at the banner above the door. He looked back at the guard. "Sir, there's a credentialing table to the left, if you need to sort out your son," Shaq said. He said it without volume, without edge, without anything in his voice except the weight of someone who has decided to be patient. "Look at the banner." He noticed 3 things while T. Briggs looked at the banner. First, on the credentialing table to the left, partially obscured by a floral arrangement, there was a framed photograph, 5 by 7, in a simple black frame, of a boy in a basketball uniform, maybe 10 years old, holding a trophy almost as tall as he was. The boy's smile was the kind that gets into a photograph and stays there for decades. Someone had brought that photograph to a charity gala and set it on the credentialing table the way you set something where you can see it. Second, near the base of the bronze founding donor plaque beside the entrance, someone had tied a small ribbon, pale blue, hand-tied, the kind that comes on a gift rather than a decoration, not part of any official arrangement. It had been placed there deliberately, by someone who knew what the plaque meant or knew someone it meant something to. Third, from inside the main hall, through the closed double doors, beneath the string quartet and the ambient noise of 400 people doing good for others from a comfortable distance, there was a sound that did not belong to any of those things. Low, rhythmic, singular. A child's cough, steady and persistent, with the particular quality of a cough that has been there long enough that the person doing it has stopped noticing they are doing it. He noted all 3. He stood at the entrance with his hands at his sides, and he waited. Now here is what T. Briggs did not know, and what the 400 people inside the main hall did not know, and what the string quartet certainly did not know. There was a boy somewhere in that building who had written a letter 8 months ago to an address he had found on the Foundation's website. And the letter had been 3 pages long and written in the careful handwriting of someone who knew the reader's time was valuable and was trying not to waste it. The letter had arrived on a Tuesday. It had been read on a Wednesday. And the person who read it had carried one sentence from it, one specific sentence from the second page, in his jacket pocket for 8 months, on an index card that had been folded and unfolded enough times that the paper had gone soft at the creases. That index card was in his jacket pocket right now. The boy who wrote the letter was inside this building tonight. Somewhere past the double doors, past the string quartet, past the 400 people in gowns and tuxedos. And he did not know that the sentence he had written on the second page of a 3-page letter had been folded and carried for 8 months by the man currently being blocked at the front door of his own gala. Stay with us for the entire video, because what happened inside the Meridian Convention Center on the evening of October the 3rd was not about a security guard, and it was not about an invitation. It was about a sentence, and about what it means when the person you wrote it to has been carrying it all along. Shaquille O'Neal was born in Newark, New Jersey, on March the 6th, 1972. And his mother Lucille was 21 years old and already in full possession of the understanding that the world was going to require her son to be twice as prepared and half as surprised as anyone else in any room he walked into. She was 5'3", and she had hands that were always doing something, cooking, fixing, folding, writing. And she had a habit of stopping whatever she was doing and looking at him directly when she needed him to hear something, because she had learned early that what you say while you are doing something else is only half heard. She would stop. She would look. She would say it once. That was the rule. She said a lot of things once. The one that stayed the longest, the one that arrived before he did in every difficult room, was this: dignity is not something they give you. It is something you bring in with you and set down on the table before anyone has had a chance to decide what they think of you. She said it the first time when he was 9 years old and had come home from school with something on his face that she recognized. She said it again when he was 16 and again at 22. And she did not need to say it after that, because he had set it down on every table he had ever walked up to, and it had never yet been taken from him. His stepfather, Sergeant Philip Harrison, was a man of maintenance and precision who expressed his love by being reliably, consistently present. He came to every game. He fixed every broken thing before it had a chance to become a bigger broken thing. He had one instruction he delivered in the aftermath of moments where the world had been small to Shaq in some way. After a slight, after a door closed, after a word said by someone who should not have said it, he would wait for the heat to pass. He would put one hand on the back of Shaq's neck, gently, the way you hold something you do not want to lose, and he would say, "Now, what are you going to do with it?" Not as a challenge, as a compass. He had been gone for 9 years. The compass was still pointing. 4 championships, 3 MVPs, a number retired in 4 cities, a television career built on the fact that the camera liked what happened when he was simply himself, a business portfolio in 47 categories, and a foundation, established 12 years ago, funded personally, run by a staff of 19 people in an office in Atlanta, that had put 3,800 children through after-school programs, covered 1,100 tutoring scholarships, built 4 community courts, and operated a summer mentorship camp in Georgia that had been attended over its 9 years of operation by children from 31 states. The gala tonight was the foundation's largest annual fundraiser. The evening's goal was $2.4 million. His name was T. Briggs. His full name was Tobias Briggs, and he was 23 years old, and he had grown up in Carmel, Indiana, in a house with a well-kept lawn and a garage with 2 cars and parents who had both worked in insurance and who had built a life that was comfortable in the specific way that requires a great deal of invisible effort to maintain and produces in the children raised inside it. A sometimes unconscious equation between the appearance of things and their value. He had gone to a mid-sized college in Ohio, studied criminal justice for 2 years before switching to business administration, graduated with a degree he was still working out what to do with, and had taken the event security job 4 months ago through an agency while he figured out the next step. He was good at the visible parts of the job. He had a presence. He followed procedure. He had been told by his supervisor, before the evening began, that this was an invitation-only event and that no exceptions were to be made without supervisor approval. And he had written that down in his notebook, and he had intended to follow it. He had not been told what the name on the foundation was. He had not been told what the man on the banner looked like. He had been handed a post, and he had taken it, and the rest he had filled in with the materials available to him. And those materials had not included enough. The moment the disrespect left him, the moment he said, "Sir, there's a credentialing table to the left," he had already begun to feel something shift at the edge of his certainty. He was not a cruel person. He was a person who had made a fast decision without enough information and was now standing inside that decision, watching it develop. The way you watch a photograph appear in a developing tray and understand too late that what is emerging is not what you intended to take a picture of. He looked at the banner. He looked at the name on the banner. He looked at the bronze plaque. He looked back at the man standing in front of him in the open-collared tuxedo, and the arithmetic completed itself in approximately 1 second. And what arrived on his face in the second after that was not quite shame and not quite panic, but was moving steadily in the direction of both. He said, "Sir, I apologize. I didn't—" Shaq put up one hand, not to stop him, to give him a moment. "Take a breath," he said. From the credentialing table to the left, a woman had been watching. Her name was Rosa Gutierrez, and she was 44 years old, and she had been volunteering with the Shaquille O'Neal Foundation for 7 years. And she was working the credentialing table tonight because she had a gift for making people feel expected, for looking up when someone approached and communicating in the first second that she was glad they had come. She had seen what happened at the entrance. She had not moved immediately, because she had watched the man at the door handle things before, and she knew that watching, sometimes, was the right contribution. She picked up the framed photograph from the table. She walked to the entrance. She handed the photograph to Shaq without a word. He looked at it. The boy in the basketball uniform, 10 years old. The trophy almost as tall as he was. The smile that stays. "Room 12, Rosa said. "He's been here for 2 hours. His grandmother brought him." Shaq nodded. He looked at the photograph for one more moment. He handed it back. He looked at Tobias Briggs. "Walk in with me," he said. Tobias blinked. "Sir? I'm not asking you to apologize to a room full of people. I'm asking you to walk in with me." A pause. "There's someone I need you to meet." They walked through the double doors together. The string quartet did not stop. The 400 people in gowns and tuxedos continued their conversations, their gestures, their carefully constructed versions of generosity. And then, in the way that rooms change when something real enters them, a change moved through the space. Not a gasp, not an announcement, but a quiet shift in attention, like a tide changing direction under the surface. People turned. A few recognized him. More recognized the size of him, the particular quality of presence that certain people carry before their name does. He did not stop in the main hall. He walked through it with Tobias Briggs beside him, nodding at the people he knew, touching a shoulder here and there. And he went down the side corridor to room 12. Room 12 was a small anteroom that had been set aside for the Foundation's scholarship recipients. 7 children, ages 9 to 14, brought to the gala with family members so they could see what the evening was for. There were juice boxes. There were cookies arranged on a plate with the Foundation's logo on it. There was a woman in her late 60s, sitting very straight in a folding chair with her handbag in her lap. Wearing a church dress and her good shoes, the kind of person who dresses for an occasion the way her generation dressed for occasions, completely as an act of respect. And there was a boy. He was 11 years old. He was wearing a blazer that was a size too large and a clip-on tie, and the expression of someone who has been told this evening is important and has decided to take that seriously. He had a cough that he was trying to manage discreetly by pressing his lips together and breathing slowly through his nose. He had dark eyes that were too old for 11 in the specific way that happens to children who have spent time in hospitals. His name was Elijah. He had written the letter 8 months ago from a hospital bed in Cincinnati on 3 pages of paper that a volunteer had brought him because he had been there for 6 weeks and had run out of ways to fill the hours that did not make him feel like he was waiting rather than living. He had addressed it to the Foundation. He had written about basketball, about what it felt like to play before he couldn't anymore, about the way the court made a specific sound when you crossed it quickly, that he thought about sometimes when the room was quiet. And on the second page, in the careful handwriting of someone conserving effort, he had written one sentence that had caused the person reading it on a Wednesday morning in Atlanta to set the letter down and sit with it for a while before picking it up again. The sentence was, "I don't need you to fix it. I just wanted someone who plays the game to know that I played it too." Shaq took the index card from his jacket pocket. He had folded and unfolded it enough times that the paper had gone soft at the creases. He handed it to the boy. Elijah looked at it. It was his own sentence, copied out in someone else's handwriting, larger, the letters slightly uneven, the way handwriting gets when someone is writing something carefully rather than quickly, the way you write something you want to get right. He looked up. "I've been carrying that for 8 months, Shaq said. He sat down in the chair across from the boy. The process of a 7'1" man settling into a folding chair is its own small spectacle, and the 2 other children in the room watched it with interest. "I carry things from people who say them right. You said it right." Elijah looked at the card. He looked at the man across from him. He said, "Did it mean something?" "It meant that you understand something it takes most people a long time to understand," Shaq said. "That being in the game matters, not just winning it." The boy's grandmother pressed her handbag slightly tighter against her side. Tobias Briggs was standing in the doorway of room 12. He had been standing there since they came in. He had not said anything. He was watching the boy hold the index card. And he was understanding something about the evening that he had not understood when he was handed a post and told no exceptions without supervisor approval. He was understanding what the exception was for. Shaq looked at him from across the room. "Come in," he said. Tobias came in. "This is Elijah," Shaq said. "Elijah, this is Tobias. He's going to make sure you get a proper seat in the main hall tonight, front row." He looked at Tobias. "That work for you?" Tobias looked at the boy. He looked at the clip-on tie, at the blazer that was a size too large, at the old eyes in the young face. He said, "Yes, sir, absolutely." Elijah looked at his grandmother. She gave him the smallest nod. the nod that means this is real. Receive it properly. Okay, Elijah said. Rosa Gutierrez appeared in the doorway. She had the framed photograph in her hands. She walked to Elijah's grandmother and she held it out and she said, "We put this at the credentialing table so he'd be easy to find. I thought you'd want it back." Something on. The grandmother took the photograph. She held it with both hands. She looked at the boy in the basketball uniform, 10 years old, the trophy, the smile. She said, "That was before." She said it simply, without grief in her voice, because grief was something she had already done the work of, and this evening was not for grief. This is after. She looked at her grandson. After is still going. Nobody in the room said anything for a moment. Then Shaq stood. He smoothed his jacket. He looked at the room, all of it, the juice boxes, the cookies, the 7 children in their good clothes, the grandmothers and parents in their church best, Rosa with the photograph, Tobias in the doorway. He looked at all of it the way his mother had taught him to look at things. Stopped. Direct. Complete. Then he said, to no one in particular and to everyone, "Let's go inside." They went inside. Elijah sat in the front row. He watched the evening, the speeches, the auction, the video about the foundation's work and after-school programs, the moment when the running total crossed $2.4 million and then kept going. He held the index card in his jacket pocket. He did not take it out again. He did not need to. He knew what it said. Philip Harrison had said, "Now, what are you going to do with it?" In the aftermath of every small door closed, every word said by someone who should not have said it, every moment where the easier thing would have been to react rather than respond. He had been gone for 9 years, and his compass was still pointing, and it had pointed on the evening of October the 3rd, through a stopped car at a bus stop, through an entrance with a banner, past a credentialing table and a blue ribbon and a recurring cough in a room down the corridor, all the way to a folding chair in room 12 and a boy who had written 3 pages to say 1 sentence and had said it exactly right. "I don't need you to fix it. I just wanted someone who plays the game to know that I played it too. Dignity is not something they give you." Shaq had known this since he was 9 years old. You bring it in with you. You set it down on the table before anyone has had a chance to decide what they think of you. And then, when the room has found out what you are, you use it for what it was always for, not for yourself, but for the boy in room 12 in the blazer that is a size too large, carrying a sentence he wrote from a hospital bed because he needed someone to know he had been in the game. He had been in the game. A security guard named Tobias Briggs submitted a volunteer application to the foundation the following week. He was accepted. He showed up the first Saturday in November and every first Saturday after that. And he was reliably, consistently present in the way that some people become when they have understood in a specific moment what presence is for. A woman named Rosa Gutierrez hung the photograph. The boy with the trophy, the smile that stays, on the wall of the foundation's reception room in Atlanta, where it still is, where it was still there the last time anyone who works there thought to look at it. A grandmother went home that night and told her daughter, who was in Cincinnati waiting for a call, that her son had sat in the front row and not coughed once during the speeches, and that a very large man had carried his words in a jacket pocket for 8 months, and that after is still going. And a boy named Elijah kept the index card now. What are you going to do with it? He was 11 years old. He had time to answer. Drop a comment right now and tell us, what is the sentence someone said to you that you have been carrying ever since? because this community knows what it means to carry something. If this one reached somewhere you were not expecting, tap that like button for every child who needed someone in the game to know they were in it too. Subscribe if this is your first time here, because we only tell the stories that deserve to be told, and the next one is already waiting for you. We will see you there.